Here we go now, baby. Right back into the action for another day of the week. Welcome to the Monday edition of Before You Bet. Aaron live right now on the covers YouTube and X channels. If you're watching on YouTube, smash that like and subscribe button right down there. So a great big show coming up for you guys today. The Battle of Texas going down on Monday Night Football. We got the Texans in Dallas to take on the disgrace that is the Dallas Cowboys. Not a very pretty game, but I think some pretty looking betting opportunities for that one. So we're going to be all over that one in a matter of seconds. Brad Powers will be by to discuss the fallout of the weekend in college football, some futures betting implications, and some best bets for the week ahead. Then in the third segment of the show, Jon Metler will be here with his best bets for the NBA. I have a couple of best bets for the NBA as well. Up over 7 units in the NBA to start the season. So NBA going good. To start the season, NFL Week 11, not good for me on Friday. Got to address it. I got reverse swept for the first time this season with my picks on Sunday, on Friday's show that I gave out. So be looking to bounce back from that here tonight. One thing that did go well for me, betting-wise, this weekend, though, was my prediction for what would happen in this Jake Paul-Mike Tyson fight. I was on a couple of radio spots, a couple of podcasts, this show here, interview at GSP, and I told everyone exactly what was going to happen. This was a work, not quite fixed, but I think there was a gentleman's agreement in place. And as a result of that, both guys weren't going to try their hardest, and the fight was going to go to a decision. That is exactly what happened. And the fallout from that, you know, everyone criticizing Jake Paul, but a bunch of people coming out in the defense of Mike Tyson. Oh my God, what a major accomplishment this is for Mike Tyson, the 58-year-old. Give me a break. It was a complete and total money grab. Let's not make Mike Tyson out to be this honorable character. He went in there and made $20 million. Good for him. They tricked everybody. And like a bunch of suckers, we watched, myself included. Okay, checking in on the live chat. Mark S. Dolphins, baby. Let's go. I'm back in, I believe. Tua looked absolutely fantastic yesterday. So if you guys want to participate in the show today, very easy to do so. Hit up the live chat on X, on YouTube. Let us know what you like in the game tonight. Okay, let's get into it here. Let's bring in my guy, the man with the sexiest smile in all of sports betting, representing Les Expos du Montréal. We are
look at that French flex. Well done,
damn
Joe.
right, man. French immersion, grade 1 through 12, St. John, New Brunswick. Shout out. How was your weekend, buddy? Hope your NFL betting did better than mine did.
It was pretty good. I hit some monsters during the day. Nice hat. I appreciate it. Wolf of Walgreens. Appreciate you, pal. But no, last night I wanted that Gus bust. There it is. Short bust. Gus sold us out. Absolutely. Going to running back 3 on the goal line last night hurt. That's when I went to bed. But other than that, it was a pretty good day. Anthony Richardson, about as low as you can get in a market. Plus 220, plus 210 for a touchdown. That's going to turn around. That's going to be about plus 110. But is there anything more frustrating in betting? Last week was heavy on Taysom Hill TD, and then it doesn't hit. And then the following week, like clockwork, goes off for 3.
Oh, yeah, I've been there doing that, going crazy. Here's this crazy trend that's nonstop, blah, 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 blah. No, falls flat. Okay, I'll back off. And the next day, easy win. That is the way she goes, though, in this business. Okay, let's get into a little bit of a recap of Week 11. Start like we always do on these Monday shows, our biggest winners and losers of the week. Let's be positive to start. I will start us off with my biggest winners of the week. The number one winner of the week, no doubt about it, it is the Buffalo Bills. And what a way to go into a bye. Man, they have got to be flying high. They're going to have fun here on their week off. So a win versus your arch nemesis in front of your home fans. And they were really good. They led for most of the game. They outgained the Chiefs by 100 yards. They held Mahomes to under 200 yards passing. Just an enormous lead now in the AFC East here for the Bills, setting themselves up quite nicely for the playoffs. The first overall seed definitely isn't out of reach either for Buffalo here. Second biggest winner. We gave this guy a ton of shit a couple of weeks ago, but now we got to give the young guy. He's only 22 years old. Let's not forget, he's still younger than a lot of these guys in college. Anthony Richardson, all the pressure in the world. And what did he do? He absolutely responded. He had his best passing day of the season yesterday, completed 20 passes. He ran 2 touchdowns in. He led the Colts to a game-winning touchdown with less than a minute on the clock. He was able to punch that one in on the road, by the way, as well, against what's supposed to be a good Jets defense. No one's saying that anymore. An absolute disgrace. Maybe a little bit more about them later, but check out the Colts here. They're setting themselves up pretty good. They're one of these bubble teams to get into the playoffs. Games versus the Patriots, Titans, Giants, and Jaguars remain on their schedule, and they still haven't had their bye yet. So it looks like a pretty good spot here. I should check the odds. What's the odds for the Colts to get into the playoffs? If somebody wants to check that and let me know. And my third biggest winner, they were in this section here last week, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Who had the Pittsburgh Steelers at first place entering week 12 of the 2024 NFL season? Probably nobody. They were not quite a laughingstock coming into the season, but Russell Wilson, really, here they are in first place. Yes, it was an ugly win over the Ravens, but no one wins uglier, better than the Pittsburgh Steelers. A very winnable game versus the Browns on deck, so they should be able to maintain their position. First place in the AFC North. Okay, Jingles, your biggest winners of the week. Who are we looking at?
Now, just checking out the chat. Ravens are overrated. It's pretty crazy that Denver's only a game back of the Ravens in this spot in the playoffs right now in the playoff hunt. Mike Tomlin, like you said, it's pretty crazy that they're winning games. 4.1 yards per play was the second lowest mark in week 11 behind the worst offense right now in the Jaguars. I got to shout out Josh Allen. I've been rolling over the Kansas City money line for like 4 weeks, hoping to go on the 17-0 run. Thought it was a great play. It was a good game in that spot, but I haven't felt like that in a while, where you're just like, get to him, stop him. How can you not do anything? Kansas City on defense looked atrocious. 0 sacks versus Josh Allen, and he just made them look silly. 4th and 2, that play, you don't put out a spy, and he just took over. It was the Josh Allen game, and that's why you see Josh Allen now the betting favorite for MVP as he overtakes Lamar. Love to see it. I didn't love to see it for my Kansas City money line, but it's nice to see Josh Allen in Buffalo. Absolutely deserves it. Bo Nix, I had Anthony Richardson. I took him off. There was a lot to like with Bo Nix as well. 300 yards, career highs, obviously, in completion percentage, 85% yards, 305, threw for 4 TDs. And just like Allen, he was one of those guys that you woke up and his movement in the awards markets was huge. He is now the number 2 betting favorite for Offensive Rookie of the Year, plus 600. And with what we've seen from Jaden Daniels over the last little bit, might not be a bad little shot there at 7-1. So I'll take some of that. Finally, Taysom Hill, like I said, I already alluded, 3 touchdowns, 184 total yards. He was a part of the offense last week. His total yards market was 47.5. It was the same again this week. He smashed that. New Orleans had 3 receptions from their receivers. They sat Tipton, they benched him, coach's decision, scratched. And Cleveland, what can we say about Cleveland? I'll get to Cleveland in a bit, but if you saw that MVS touchdown, there wasn't anybody around. Like, I think Cleveland's quit more than any other team on both sides of the ball.
Let's get negative. Let's be mean. Let's be pessimistic. Our biggest losers of the week, Patrick Mahomes and Andy Reid. What a couple of pathetic losers. These guys can't even cover it. No, I'll give the Chiefs a pass for that one, although I was very disappointed. I needed them to cover that teaser leg. My true biggest loser of the week here in week 11, and this guy's been a pretty big loser all season. Let's be fair here. Kyle Shanahan, come on now. Another bad loss. They're starting to stack up here for the 49ers. They got a really tough schedule coming up. So the 49ers blowing leads in the fourth quarter and special teams mishaps, I guess we will call them. This is their 3rd loss this season where they have had a lead in the fourth quarter. That ties them for the most in the NFL with the Bengals and the Jaguars here this season. 1-3 in this division, a very tight division. As a result of being 1-3, they're in last place in this division. Who had them at last place in the division? I know teams, it's very tight, but still. But here's why these bad losses are such a big deal for the 49ers. They have an extremely difficult schedule coming up. At Packers, at Bills, they host the Rams, who've given them trouble They fly cross country to take on the Dolphins. You can laugh at the Dolphins all you want, but not a great spot to be in. They host the Lions in week 17, and then they're at the Cardinals in week 18 of the season, in what could be a pivotal game for both teams. So just a disaster situation here for the San Francisco 49ers. Kyle Shanahan has done an awful job with the special teams, and the offense wasn't good yesterday either. They didn't even have 300 yards of offense. I'm sure some people would love to blame Brock Purdy, but it's on Shanahan here. He's going to do a better job. My second biggest loser, and this is just a loser franchise. You cannot take the Atlanta Falcons seriously. So you lose to the disgrace that is the New Orleans Saints. And how do you follow that up? You get absolutely stomped by the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are all right, but 38-6. Come on, Falcons. That was completely embarrassing. The wheels could really fall off here for the Falcons, too. They got a couple of tough games on deck. Chargers and Vikings next for them. And here's the thing, the Bucs coming out of their bye, they're getting a lot healthier. The Bucs probably have the easiest remaining schedule of any team in the NFL. So they're going to be breathing down their necks here for the rest of the way. And then, man, Bears fans, it's just not meant to be. You know, they make the change at the offensive coordinator. You think they're going to be able to kick the field goal to ice the game, to also end a 10-game losing streak against the Packers here. A little bit of a treat for the home fans with this being in Chicago, you know, the long-suffering fan base. And then the field goal kick gets blocked. Second week in a row this has happened, by the way. A blocked field goal ends the game. But the thing is, they really shouldn't have been in that game. They let 8.5 yards per play to the Packers in that one. So, I don't know. That game was closer than it should have been. I was hurt by that because I had the Packers as my don't overthink it bet of the week. That did not go well. And dishonorable mention here, a lesser person would take this opportunity to really rub it in the face of the New York Jets, who continue to find new ways to define rock bottom each week. Aaron Rodgers has a win percentage of .273 as starting quarterback of the New York Jets. Both Sam Darnold and Zach Wilson have a higher win percentage as quarterback of the Jets than Aaron Rodgers. How is this getting worse for the Jets? Jets fans, I'm starting to feel sorry for you at this point. You guys should boycott. You should stage a walkout at the next game. Why are you paying to go to Jets games? I know a lot of these tickets are already paid for, but you got to walk out. What are the Jets going to do if Aaron Rodgers says, yes, I want to come back next season? It's going to be a disaster. Anyways, Jingles, that's how I feel. How do you feel? Your biggest losers of the week?
That offense didn't get its first down until a minute in. Like, if you just look at Aaron Rodgers' stats, you're like, oh, okay, they're not terrible, but they're catch-up numbers, right? Like, that offense did nothing. Its first down came in the last minute of the first half. It was absolutely atrocious. And the Chicago, I had Green Bay money line with Paul money line from the fight on Saturday night. So I escaped that one. But again, Matt Eberflus didn't run on second down, right? Like, they had time. They could have ran. They could have got some more yards. Instead, they're like, no, this is going to be the spot. And I think it's the third time basically since 2019 that coaching staff has done that same situation. It's looked very similar. But on my dumps, Kansas City, I can't get over how Kansas City could not get to Josh Allen at all. 0 sacks. Like I said, 2 hurries. They couldn't contain him on key third downs. He kept getting it, and that 4th and 2 with no spy was absolutely an atrocious defensive call from Kansas City, right? And they were in their own head. I don't know if you saw they ended up getting the touchdown, but did you see the Andy Reid timeout when they scored a rushing touchdown, but he ran out and called it? Like, there was a lot going on, and it was, I don't know. It's Kansas City, like you said, there's an ultimate universe where Kansas City's fighting for a playoff spot with how a lot of those games have turned out. Cleveland defense, all you need to do is go look at that MVS touchdown. Go see who's around him. It's not like he beat coverage, threw across the body, came across, no one even near him. Cleveland gave up 35 points to a wide receiver group that was led by MVS and Cedric Wilson. And you give up almost 200 yards to Taysom Hill. That is it. It's just, I know we've been dumping on Cleveland all year, but it's just, there hasn't been a bright light at all all season for Cleveland fans. And the Cincinnati defense, as lots of people were talking about Burrow, like, where do you put Burrow? If I'm Joe Burrow, I'm the angriest human being in all of football. In his 7 losses this year, he has 18 touchdowns to 2 interceptions. He's averaging 308 yards per game. His defense has given up 123 points over the last 4 games. Yes, they kind of held it late and gave him enough to make a comeback. But at the end of the day, they got spanked early. I mean, the Chargers hit their team total over in the first half alone, and they didn't even have to run the ball. Absolute embarrassment for Cincinnati defense.
Yeah, it's not the Bengals season. Not meant to be. You know, some people even talked themselves into them again yesterday, coming off that loss to the Ravens on Thursday night. But yeah, I thought the Chargers, hey man, they look really good. Herbert was running around a lot there in the first half, and they closed it out. So yeah, good for the Chargers.
How about Caleb Williams? No passing touchdowns for 4 straight weeks. Like, yeah, they put up points.
Good call by you.
I know, but like, we might be able to mask it because they actually put up some points without him throwing for anything. So if you can get anything at plus 150 next week, it's just, you watch him. And like, I was watching the game with my dad who doesn't know anything about Caleb Williams, and he just watched one throw and he goes, "Oh, what was that?" I'm like, "God, it's Caleb Williams. Welcome to the Caleb Williams show."
Todd Albury says the Bengals are the Jets. Nah, that's going too far, Todd. Come on.
Burrow's still elite, right? Like, that was another
Burrow's
insane
still
effort.
elite. Chase is still elite. You know, the defense isn't respectable, but I don't know. They handled themselves better in the media. I do think the Bengals head coach is a little bit of a joke, though. But I don't know. I guess they're too cheap to fire him. So we'll see what they do there.
T. Higgins was plus 400 yesterday to lead in receiving, which was wild. Everybody thinks it's Jamar Chase, but it's T. Higgins who's the man, I think, in that spot.
Yeah, imagine. Well, I'm thinking of the Chargers here. We'll get into the Monday Night Football picks right after this, and then Brad Powers. But this was supposed to be like a bit of a reset year for the Chargers. Not a rebuild by any means, but, you know, they get rid of Mike Williams and Eckler and the other receiver who went to Chicago. And here they are. They're going to get into the playoffs here. And, you know, they drafted Joe Alt there in the first round. And could you imagine when they actually start to add some decent skill players to this team? Imagine they ended up with T. Higgins, who's probably going to go into free agency. So, yeah, bright days ahead for the Chargers. Okay, Jingles, let's get into Monday Night Football here. Like I said, not a beautiful-looking game, but I think some beautiful-looking betting opportunities. I have 3. You have 2. I will get us started here. I'm going to take the Texans to go over their team total of 24.5 points. And this is pretty much just a big-time fade of this Cowboys defense. They're ranked 29th in yards allowed per play. The Texans are desperate here after 2 straight losses. I think this is a great spot for their offense to break out versus one of the worst defenses in the NFL. Dallas at home. Oh, my God. They are getting smoked. You go back to the playoff game against the Packers last season. The Cowboys have allowed an average of 40.2 points over their last 5 home games. 4 straight opponents have topped this number against Dallas, regardless of the location. So I think the Texans are going to be able to move the ball with ease. They're going to be able to get it close into the red zone. The Cowboys have the worst red zone defense in the NFL, so I do expect touchdowns, not field goal attempts if Houston gets in close here. So we'll take the Texans to go over their team total, 24.5. Cooper Rush, you are supporting him tonight. Tell us how. Tell us why.
Not really, but I do like points. I need the over tonight. I'm not putting it down, but I need the over for every week is all indoor game overplay. Played every week. All the other 3 games indoors hit. So one more indoor game for 100 for about $1,000. So we'll take that. Cooper Rush. What I like about this, you need to know where the projections come from. They come from the Blitz. They're on the Covers website. Go over there, check out prop projections. It's all there. But what I know is that Derek Carty doesn't like Cooper Rush to complete this game. It's priced in where he might not finish this game. And this over 1.5 carries still projects well. He just released it before we got on the show. So that number is going to move. It's 4-2 to the over across his last 6 starts. I mean, they're a 7-point dog. If he plays well, maybe there's some kneel down equity. Let's be honest. If this team has the ball late in the first half with 30 seconds and no timeouts, they're probably going to take a knee. There's a carry. So there is a bit of kneel down equity within this. And I love the job on the line angle, especially in rushing. We saw it with Anthony Richardson yesterday. the guy's playing for his job, right? Trey Lance is right there. He could come in. We got a team that in Houston who can pressure, and maybe we get one or two. Like, this is not a guy that's getting designed run plays, but this is a small number at plus 140, projects for 2.7 from the blitz. So there's a lot to like for plus money over 1.5 carries.
Next up for me, Joe Mixon. I like him to be involved in the pass game, catch a few, might just take one. I like him to go over 15.5 receiving yards, minus 110 on this one. So check him out. He averages 22.7 on the season. Pretty high ceiling for Mixon here too. He's had 30+ receiving yards 3 times in his 7 games this season. Dallas, not good against running backs in the pass game. They're allowing 39.2 receiving yards per game to running backs, over 10 yards per catch they're allowing to running back so far this season as well. And maybe, I don't know, this is just guessing, maybe a little bit of extra room to work. Nico Collins expected back here. He is a true number 1 receiver in the NFL, so he will require a lot of attention from the Cowboys defense. So maybe open up some room in the backfield, a swing pass or two potentially for Mixon to go over 15.5 receiving yards. Okay, 2 more to go, and then we'll get to Brad for college football. C.J. Stroud, what are we looking at for him?
Over a pretty modest number, 9.5 rushing yards. He's hit 12.5 in 6 of his 10 starts, 32 carries through 10 games this year. He had 35 all of last year. But one thing that stands out is Dallas is number 1 in pressure, but ranks 23rd in sacks. They can get you, but they can't finish the job, can't get the tackles. So hopefully a little push out within the pocket for C.J. Stroud, who also like the Nico Collins angle. Excuse me, the Nico Collins angle, where they have to pay attention to him because he is a top 5 receiver in all of football. I really honestly believe that. A little more attention there, maybe a little less attention to Stroud getting out of the pocket. He's not a rushing quarterback, but 9.5, small number. I think this is 4-1 in the games where Nico Collins has played this year. So give me a little Stroud over 9.5. And how about Joe Mixon? His carry prop, 21.5. That is a giant number. This offense might be a little different now that Nico's back. They had to rely heavily on Joe Mixon in that run game, running 30 times a game. Might be different with Nico Collins.
Okay, last but not least for Monday Night Football, maybe a little bit of an under-the-radar play. I'm going to fade Jake Ferguson, Cowboys tight end. Going to take him to go under his receiving yard total of 35.5. So Houston's defense really good, especially against tight ends. They've allowed the fewest yards and receptions to tight ends this season. Ferguson, not bad. The guy throwing to him is really bad. Cooper Rush threw for 45 yards last week. How is that even possible on 23 attempts? Houston, this is a really good defensive team. They are on their first losing streak of the season. Certainly not in a spot to play down to the competition or take it easy on a lesser opponent. They got the Colts kind of breathing down their necks now, so expect a strong defensive performance from the Colts here tonight. And he's staying under this a lot lately. He stayed under this in 3 of his last 4 starts. So we'll take Ferguson to go under his receiving yard number. Okay, Jingles, you're going to be right back with us on Thursday's edition of the show, but let the people know what else you have going on here over at Covers.
We got some blitz plays too. I do like Derek's, what was it? I believe it's Cooper Rush under 0.5 passing TDs at plus 125, probably a play to plus 115. He might not finish the game. Like it works out well. Like if he's not playing well, he doesn't throw any touchdowns. Well, then he probably won't see some time in the second half. So even that, still like that over 1.5 rush at plus money. So a little fade, a little love for Cooper Rush. But outside of that, we turn to our attention to week 12 coming up, which is wild. Thanksgiving's around the corner, which is scary to think about. And Christmas around the corner, Joe. Get your shopping done. Hockey's there too. Lots more coming. Lots more bets. Follow me. Betting a lot these days, but
Black Friday. All right, buddy. Thanks for joining. We'll catch you on Thursday's show.
Later, pal.
All right, let's get into it. College football. Hit up the live chat, guys. Let us know who is your pick to win the national championship. We will read a few off over the course of the interview here with Brad. Regular season winding down. So let's go down to our guy in sunny Las Vegas, representing the Texas Longhorns. Brad, how you doing today?
Hey, doing well. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Absolutely. Okay, so the regular season winding down, things starting to take shape atop the odds board for the national championship and the Heisman. So let's discuss both. And you look at the top 4 on the national championship futures odds board. We have Ohio State plus 320, Oregon plus 475. Georgia and Texas both around plus 500. Then a bit of a drop off to Alabama at plus 800. So do you agree with the top four on the odds board? And who outside of that top four would you like to be, or who do you think would be the best bet?
Yeah, I don't have a major disagreement with the top four. I do find it interesting that Georgia's in the mix, despite the fact they're likely not even going to have a home playoff game and have to play all 4 rounds. But I think it's justified because on a neutral, Georgia's going to be favored almost over everybody in college football. So all those 4 teams are in the top 5 in my power ratings. The team missing, though, that's still in the top 5 in my power ratings that I think is a little bit of value offering, as long as you can find 10-1 or better out there in the marketplace, is Ole Miss. 10-1. I just think their 8 game, when they're healthy, we saw it. They dominated Georgia. I think that's as good as anybody in college football. And we'll see the pathway that they have. It's probably likely that they also have to have a road game to start the playoffs. But Ole Miss would be that team outside the top 4 that might be offering some value in the futures market.
You got to add an Ole Miss hat to the collection, Brad, if you don't already.
Yeah, I do.
I like their merch, man. They got good colors, sharp stuff. Okay, so let's take a look at the Heisman. Is the Heisman race basically wrapped up now? Travis Hunter minus 350 to win the award. He added an interception and a rushing touchdown this week. Wasn't very impressive in the receiving category, but he still found ways to contribute to the game. You think this one's over with?
Yeah, I do, but I'm never going to say never, because we live in an instant gratification society, and there's going to be some other, chances for the other guys in contention to have big time games and big time performances. But it looks like it's all media narrative. I mean, this is something that gets voted on, and it seems like Hunter has the pulse of the national media, and so much so that everybody talks about that rushing touchdown and interception. Probably didn't watch the game. It was a rushing touchdown when they're already up 3 touchdowns with about a minute left that they gave it to him. And then the interception was a fluke play off a deflected pass. So he did not have that good a game, gave up a long touchdown pass. But, everyone just looks at the simple stats.
The final box score. Yeah. So the final box score, though, it was an impressive one. Colorado are rolling here. 8 straight covers. So us bettors are loving them, unless you're fading them. So they win that one 49-24. It's kind of funny. You touched on this a little bit a week or two ago, where last season people couldn't shut up about this team, and they weren't very good at all. But here we have them pushing to get into the 12-team playoff. And my question for you is, how do you think they stack up against the elite teams in college football?
Not well. So first, let's give them credit. They are much better than expected. You don't believe me? Look at the 8 straight covers, that being basically them overachieving beyond expectation each and every week. But I still only have number 17 in my power ratings. They would be about a 2-touchdown underdog to Ohio State on a neutral if they played them in the playoffs. They would still be a double-digit underdog against Georgia, Texas, Ole Miss, Oregon, Alabama, still a sizable underdog against a Penn State, Notre Dame, Tennessee. So they would not match up well. And look, for as good as they've been, and they've been much better than expected, especially at the line of scrimmage, they've gotten some scheduling breaks. You look, if you're looking before the season, okay, they don't play BYU, Iowa State, or Arizona State. No, that's probably unfortunate for Colorado. That could have been some wins. Well, the reality is, those 3 teams are at the top of the Big 12 conference. So them not playing those teams has helped them. They played a lot of the most disappointing teams in the conference, that being Utah, the game they just won. So, I don't think they're that good. I get this, on Twitter and social media. Oh, you're a Colorado hater. Well, it's gonna amp up come playoff time, because I'm gonna have a monster bet against Colorado in the playoffs.
All right, let's go. You're here first. Okay, so one of the biggest stories out of the weekend in college football, LSU loses again, man. Oof. 3 straight losses for them. A brutal one to Florida this past week. You go back to the start of the season, that USC loss hasn't aged very well either as the season has gone on. So what do we think of Brian Kelly here? Pretty big disappointment so far. Is this job safe here as head coach?
It is, but let me get into it. This year could be even much worse. They won because of a controversial ruling as far as a penalty against South Carolina, and the only time they ever led against Ole Miss was the final play of the game when they scored a touchdown to beat Ole Miss in overtime. So they're very fortunate to win those 2 games. Look, the first 2 years he did a great job. Keep in mind, Brian Kelly inherited a program that was 11-12 the previous 2 years before he got there. Everyone still talks about the national championship team that they won in 19. But the reality was Ed Orgeron's last 2 years what was an abysmal failure. So what did Brian Kelly do? First 2 years, he won 10 games each season. Had the Heisman Trophy winner last year. A couple first-round picks at wide receiver. So the expectation was the offense would take a step back, but the defense has been a major liability each of his first 3 years. They have not improved that much. The reason he's safe, though, I got 60 million reasons why he's safe. That is his current buyout. $60.8 million is his buyout. So LSU is probably stuck with him for another 2 to 3 years. LSU does not have the same money as like a Texas A&M did when they had to buy out Jimbo Fisher.
Okay, speaking of LSU, let's get into a couple of best bets here for the week. And you don't like LSU. You're going to take the team that they are playing, Vanderbilt, plus 8.5 dog, feisty Vanderbilt team. Why do you like them in this matchup?
Well, yeah, I just got done saying Brian Kelly's job is safe for a couple more years, but I'm going to tell you that the Heat's going to ramp up after this week, in my opinion, because I think this is going to be a very competitive game. If not, I would not be surprised if Vanderbilt pulled the outright upset. Why? Well, let's look at Vanderbilt as an underdog this year, 6-1 against the spread, 4 outright upsets. They're off a bye, and they needed it. I mean, I'm going to go to the coaches speak. The bye always comes at the right time. But in this case, it was the right time for Vanderbilt. They were banged up. Diego Pavia was not 100% healthy in the South Carolina game, so getting that extra bye week should help them. And then let's just look at body language. If you watch the LSU-Florida game, looks like the players are checked out. There will be no playoffs. There's no SEC championship game. There's already significant rumors of the portal getting hit in the portal really hard as far as guys leaving. So Vanderbilt's going to be, I would say, pretty live for an 8.5-point underdog here. But let's just take the points for now.
Okay, we'll play it a bit safer. This next one, we were going under the radar. ULM, plus 3, taking on Arkansas State. What's the edge here? What's the angle?
So a multitude of ones. Let's just go statistical. I mean, UL Monroe has played a much more difficult schedule than Arkansas State. You look at the simple wise guy stat, yards per play margin. ULM is 1 yard per play margin better than Arkansas State, despite playing a tougher schedule. I also like the spot here. This is an Arkansas State team that just clinched bowl eligibility, so they might be sitting fat and happy. Meanwhile, UL Monroe has only made 1 bowl game in their entire existence as an FBS program, 35 years. And they have an opportunity, and they've had an opportunity here the last month to clinch bowl eligibility. They started 5-1. They played 4 really difficult games in a row, lost all 4. This is their opportunity to get that 6th win and get the bowl eligibility. I think you're dialed in here, and we got the better team getting 3, the much better team. So UL Monroe plus 3 here.
Okay, there you have it. 2 best bets from Brad. He's going to be right back with us on Friday's show to break down the bigger games of the week. I'm sure an extra best bet or 2 to add to these ones. So, Brad, until then, best of luck with all your handicapping this week, and we'll see you again on Friday.
Look forward to it. And there's a good possibility we're going to have best bets on those big games, too. I know people like to have best bets on the biggest games. There's a good chance this week.
Indeed. Let's go. All right, buddy. Have a great week. We'll catch you on Friday.
Take care. Thanks for having me, Joe.
Yes, sir. The man right there. Let's go do another man. Let's talk some NBA. National Basketball Association. Joel Embiid is sick. There's always something with this poor motherfucker, John. Like, it's just unbelievable at this point. He doesn't start to, good for him. He won a gold medal for Team USA in the Olympics. Wasn't ready for the season. And there's just always something. And it's, he can't help it. It's unfair, maybe, some of the criticism that we give to Joel Embiid, because you can't help it if you get hurt. If I catch a cold tonight and can't work tomorrow, it's not necessarily my fault, right? But it's just, there's always something. And I kind of blame the 76ers here. They gave this guy an extension that's going to pay him $60 million a year. They're the second worst team in the NBA, John. Really bad loss Friday, I believe, to your Magic. What do you think of this situation? It seems to be getting worse for the 76ers and Embiid.
Yeah, so I did bet Joe Embiid over assists today. It's going to go void because he's doubtful. He's not going to play. He has the illness. There's I was saying, at some point you got to put your foot on the gas here. You're 2-10. They're not even treading water. Like, you kind of, last year it was like, okay, he's out, but with Tyrese Maxey, we're playing a little bit below 500, but we can hang in there because we're so good when Embiid's playing. Like, you're just getting deeper and deeper into this, and you're falling further and further behind. The bright spot is Jared McCain. they do have the backcourt duo like Jared McCain, Tyrese Maxey. They've gotten fortunate with their draft picks and like these young guards who like they didn't expect Tyrese Maxey to be Tyrese Maxey. I don't think they expected Jared McCain to be Jared McCain.
Good drafting.
Both these guards are really good. They just got to get Embiid on the floor, but you're falling so far out of it. It's interesting. I don't know. It seems like they're going to go down a weird path this season. I don't know. The one that bothers me so much is when the season started, or say a week before the season started, their total win total was like 51.5, and they released, Paul George not ready for the regular season, Joe Embiid ramping up, not ready. And I stared at that and I almost bet it. And I didn't bet it because I was like, the 51.5 is probably too low if they do come, like if they miss 2-3 games.
Audio out, or is that me?
What was that?
Audio, producer Mick.
I can still hear you guys.
Okay. Oh, there we go. I got you.
Can you hear me?
I got you. Technical difficulties, folks. We got her.
We're making from Embiid for not showing up, and then we got technical difficulties on our end. Seems kind of
we get
throwing stones in the glass house. Anyways, I was gonna say the 51.5 win total. It feels like it was a layup now on the under, and it's really disappointing that I didn't bet on it, but we'll see.
Yeah, it's not going to get better as Embiid ages here. They should have traded him when he had peak value because he had proven on many occasions that he cannot win in the playoffs. He gets to the playoffs and he's out of shape. It's the start of the season now when he's out of shape. So it's not going to get better. Okay, let's get into a couple picks here. The NBA season off to a strong start betting-wise, so let's keep that going. First, we are off to Toronto, where the Pacers are in town, and we're going to start with a rare spread bet from Jon Metler. I have a pick on the total. What do you like on the spread?
I'm on Raptors plus 4.5. This was the best price, minus 115 before we came on. It might be 4 now. It might have moved. It was kind of trending that way. You probably will start to see more spread bets from me. I'm kind of having a hard time placing the assist bets at all the sports books and stuff. So you probably will start to see more spread bets. I went Raptors plus 4.5. This first bullet point here. I said tough spot for Indiana Pacers who have been in Florida for a while. That's actually an error on my side. That's not a producer Mick error or anything like that. They have not been in Florida. They played the Miami Heat twice, but both those games were in Indiana. Last week they were in Orlando. So that's my bad there. This is that doesn't change my mind. It still is a bad spot. It's a back end of a back-to-back. They played yesterday against the Heat in Indiana. All their starters played like 35 plus minutes, pretty big minutes and stuff. And nobody likes traveling to Toronto when you got like the customs going up, colder weather. Nobody enjoys that. But the one thing I do really like here from a matchup perspective, the Raptors don't have a lot of good defenders. Davion Mitchell is probably their best. He can at least harass Tyrese Halliburton, which obviously disrupts the flow of the Pacers offense. The Pacers are also very injured. Aaron Nesmith is out. Andrew Nembhard's out. Those are like their two best like wing defenders. And you're being replaced by guys who don't really play defense. So like when you look at them in the Eastern Conference Finals, their defense was actually pretty good. And you would kind of try to like match up hunt Tyrese Halliburton. That's going to be a lot easier for the Raptors tonight because you don't necessarily need to match up hunt Tyrese Halliburton. You have Halliburton, Benedict Mathurin. I don't know who's going to play the third guard spot because Ben Shepherd also left the game yesterday with an injury. So that's kind of up in there. They are pretty beat up. RJ Barrett, I feel like, he gets his offense going. He should be able to create a lot of shots and create a lot of offense against this Pacers defense. So I took the 4.5. I just think it's too many points.
Hopefully a lot of offense because I am going over. High number 233, not high enough. When these teams play, the defenses take the night off. So they played 4 games against each other last season. They crossed 250 combined points in all 4 games. They got into the 260s twice. All of those totals were set in the 240s, by the way. This one here at 233. So maybe a little bit of breathing room here for us. Both defenses getting absolutely cooked here. 27th and 25th in points allowed. Dirty defense by each team has resulted in each allowing a lot of free throws. So expect a lot of free points, a lot of freebies coming from the free throw line. When the clock is stopped, you love that when you're on the over. And just a couple of trends here. Pacers have gone over in 9 of 11 games. The Raptors have gone over in 10 of 11 at home. So I think they're going to go over that 233 mark. Next up, Jaden Ivey. What do you like for him?
Over 4.5 assists playing the Chicago Bulls. Horrific defense, Chicago Bulls. They are very offensive, not a lot of good defense there. So Jaden Ivey, the backcourt of Jaden Ivey, Kate Cunningham, they like full on run this Pistons offense. Everything goes through them. Ivey's potential assists are up this season by about 2 compared to last season. And even like more recently, his last couple games are even higher. If he can get in the lane, which he can do against a lot of defenders, but against the Bulls, this should be a lot easier. If he can get in the lane, they're going to have to help. And he is just surrounded. Malik Beasley's a catch and shoot shooter, which really helps potential assists. Tobias Harris, catch and shoot shooter kind of. He actually might be able to finish on the interior too tonight, which will help those potential assists. You have Jalen Duren's a lob threat. I just think Ivy's going to live in the lane tonight. And when he's doing that, he's just surrounded by teammates who will be able to convert against the Chicago Bulls. The Chicago Bulls got blasted yesterday by the Houston Rockets. And they were the assists were coming very easy for the Rockets players. So at 4.5 plus 115, I'm playing the over.
Speaking of the Rockets, they are in Milwaukee tonight. And we have a total of 224.5, I believe, for this one. I'm going to take the under in this game. Yeah, 224.5. Going to take the under on this one. So the Rockets, absolutely. They've been one of the best defenses in the NBA this season. Check them out over the last 10 games. Second in defensive rating, second in points allowed in that span as well. The Bucks are slowly trending in a better direction defensively. I think it's fair to say that. They've gone under in 8 of their last 11 games, ranking 24th in scoring. Things aren't quite getting better on the offensive side of things for the Bucks, who lost to the Charlotte Hornets their last time out. The offensive stats for both of these teams aren't going to impress anybody. Bottom half of the league for both teams in most key offensive categories. And then this total is on the high end for a Rockets game. They often have their total set in the 200 teens area. And I'm kind of wondering, maybe a little bit of recency bias coming off a performance against the Bulls. John alluded to or pointed that out. They scored 143 points in that game. An outlier offensive performance versus the defensively challenged Bulls. The Milwaukee Bucks, a much better defensive team than Chicago. So we will go under 224.5 for that one. Okay, last pick of the show, some guy named Steph Curry. What do you like for this guy, this unknown player?
BYB points prop. I'm going Steph Curry over 23.5 points, minus 120. He is questionable. The one thing you do like in the NBA, it's not like other sports. Like if they're playing, they're going to play and they're going to play their minutes. If they're injured, they'll just completely sit out. It's not like he's going to come in, play 10 minutes and then leave, or they just play him for 20 to try to save whatever the injury is. That's just not really how the NBA works. So chance this also runs void, which is unfortunate because the Joel Embiid bet's running void as well. But it's 23.5 points. He's playing the Clippers. This total is just low, and it's not because it's Curry's minutes on the season. He's only playing about 28 minutes a game, but it's because the Warriors have been a part of so many blowouts. Like if you go through their box scores, the games they've won, they've killed people, and even the games they've lost, they've gotten killed. So it's just a weird spot where this total's sitting really low, and you just really don't need that many minutes from Curry to get over to show an edge on this number. And just not why I bet it, but the narrative thing. James Harden yesterday passed Ray Allen, went second all-time career three-pointers. I feel like Steph Curry could lean into that little head-to-head. I'm the leader. James Harden's second. We're facing each other tonight, so that could be fun too.
That makes me sad that James Harden, I didn't know that. I wasn't following the storylines of the NBA there yesterday. He's passed Ray Allen?
Yeah, second.
One of my favorite. I think Ray Allen's the best shooter of all time. So smooth. Some people say Reggie Miller. Well, no, most people say Steph Curry, actually. I take that back. Steph Curry is the best shooter of all time. Then I would say Ray Allen. He Got Game. Great movie. I brought it up a couple times on the show here. Okay, let's recap the picks here. We don't have a recap of the NBA picks. We just did them, though. So hopefully you're not just tuning in. But if you missed the Monday Night Football picks off the top of the show, I went with the Texans over on their team total 24.5. Joe Mixon over 15.5 receiving yards. Jake Ferguson under 35.5 receiving yards. And Jingles went with a little dinky one. Cooper Rush over 1.5 carries. And CJ Stroud over 9.5 rushing yards. And that does it for the Monday edition of the show. A great big one today. Thank you guys for all tuning in. We're going to be right back with you guys tomorrow, though. Professional sports bettor Hitman will be here with his look ahead to, what are we going into, week 12 of the NFL season already? Just flying. He's going to be here. Jon Metler and I, of course, will have our best bets for the NBA. So make sure you tune in then. Same time, same place. Thank you to both of my guests, all of my guests for joining today. Great job by producer Mick today. Thank you to BetMGM for sponsoring the show. And thank you to all the great viewers for tuning in today. Best of luck with your bets tonight. And we will see you guys again tomorrow. Let's go, Dolphins. Woo! Good luck!